So today I wanted to talk to you guys about post-birth control syndrome. Now, this syndrome is a collection of symptoms that occur usually about 4 to 6 months after getting off of hormonal birth control. And it can be multiple symptoms, it can be one symptom, and it definitely can differ from person to person depending on your lifestyle, depending on how long you're on the synthetic hormones, what type of synthetic hormones you're on, family history, genetic predispositions, lots of different things. But typically what is most common is symptoms of gut dysbiosis, thyroid dysfunction, irregularities when it comes to menstrual cycle, hair loss can occur, acne can occur. There's definitely some nutrient deficiencies that should be addressed. Also, inflammation and insulin resistance are very common. So this can surface in a lot of different ways, and it depends on the person, like I said. So it can be a return of old symptoms if the reason that you got on the pill to begin with was to eliminate acne or heavy painful periods. Then what the pill did was not get to the root cause of your acne or heavy periods, but it simply masked that, typically by reducing testosterone. So it is very likely that these symptoms will reappear after you eliminate the synthetic hormones, because again, we didn't address the root cause of the problem with the pill or the birth control. We just masked it, basically put a band-aid on it. And those old symptoms may resurface, or new symptoms can resurface. A lot can change if you've been on birth control for a decade or longer. A lot can change to your lifestyle and things like that. So this is just something to be aware of before you consider transitioning off of hormonal birth control. This hormonal birth control does impact every single system in the body, and it mainly shuts off the communication between the ovaries and the brain. And that is really important, because if that communication has been shut down for years and decades even, then it's going to take some time to reestablish that relationship between the brain and the ovaries so that you can start ovulating again and producing those proper hormones that you need for a healthy cycle again. So know that it is going to take some time, and for some women it can take up to 1.5 years to see ovulation again. So you're not going to be really fertile for maybe even a year or so after getting off of the pill. So I know many people are worried about fertility and pregnancy after getting off of hormonal birth control, but sometimes it's a little more complicated than that. Sometimes it's not. It depends on the person. So if you were put on birth control to manage your symptoms, say acne, which is one of the reasons, 14% of people actually women are put on the pill because of acne. Acne is actually trying to tell you something. It's trying to let you know that there's an internal imbalance, that most likely you're producing too much testosterone. That could be due to PCOS, blood sugar imbalances. It could be caused by infections in the gut, an overactive immune system, poor detoxification pathways. Then symptoms can surface through the skin. So there are a lot of underlying causes that need to be explored for why those symptoms were occurring in the first place and why they may resurface again. And what I help women with is to get ready, get your body prepared, start getting your ovaries and your brain talking again, and doing all these things before getting off of birth control so that you're not faced with all of these unpleasant symptoms resurfacing. Because unfortunately, a lot of women end up getting back on hormonal birth control because of symptoms like hair loss, acne, heavy painful periods, which are embarrassing for one, and they're definitely disruptive of your life, can really harm your self-confidence, which can affect your relationship and your career and really every area of your life. And we don't want to deal with that. That's not something that we want to happen and occur. So it's really important that we understand what's going on in your body and how to best support your body before transitioning off of birth control. So there are 5 areas that I really like to look at. My program is 3 months, and we start this 3 months with really reestablishing those hormonal rhythms in the body. So female hormones, they're more like a roller coaster over the course of the month. They're not kind of a flat line like men and testosterone is. We have our estrogen peaking at certain times of the month. We have progesterone peaking at certain times of the month. Follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. These are all coming and going to help us to ovulate and all of that stuff. So it's important to restore these hormonal rhythms. And other hormonal rhythms, like our sleep cycle, our circadian rhythm. Melatonin is a hormone. So some ways to restore our circadian rhythm are to get exposure to sunlight first thing in the morning and reduce blue light exposure in the evening time. So our brain isn't tricked into thinking it's daylight when it's actually nighttime, allowing it to produce melatonin and help us to get good quality sleep. So really important that we reestablish these hormonal rhythms, and one way to help support our hormones, our reproductive hormones, is through seed cycling, which I've mentioned before in my videos and posts. So having certain seeds at certain times of the month to help us produce more estrogen or progesterone, depending on what our body needs at that time. And that can just help our body to relearn how to produce these hormones and when it's appropriate to produce these hormones. Some other areas we'll touch on to reestablish the natural rhythms of our body are to eat with the seasons, and also using herbs like Vitex to help just restore the natural hormonal balance in our body. Number 2 is replenishing nutrient stores. So the pill depletes vital nutrients that are essential for our thyroid health and for lots of other systems in the body. So it's really important that we eat a whole foods diet, for one, right? Because if we're getting whole foods, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, the brighter the better. It means we're getting lots of vitamins, especially B vitamins, which we really need for healthy hormones. That will help us to replenish zinc if we are eating grass-fed beef, and those types of foods also are rich in choline. Choline is really good for the liver, and we'll talk about why that's important here in a bit. Lots of different seafoods to help restore our selenium and iodine levels. So whole foods diet is really going to be key here. And along with that, testing to see what nutrient deficiencies are present in your body, because we don't want to supplement with things that your body doesn't need. And so getting a closer look by doing direct-to-consumer lab testing can be a really great way to understand what's going on internally. And I also have hormonal quizzes, which can tell us also, based on symptoms you're experiencing, what is going on inside your body, whether our estrogen is high, whether our estrogen is low, that sort of thing. So really important that we address these nutrient deficiencies. Next is supporting detox and elimination. So a lot of the pill gets backed up into the large intestine, which can really disrupt that elimination process, which is really important for getting rid of excess estrogen. Also, just all of the toxins in our environment today. If our liver is not functioning optimally, if there's a lot of that synthetic estrogen backed up in our liver, and there's just a really high toxic burden on the body, then we're not going to be able to eliminate those excess hormones that we don't need, and all of that good stuff. So really important that we support those detox pathways. And one is just really through food, and my philosophy is food first, because we want to be getting the most natural bioavailable forms of these vitamins that the pill has depleted, and whole foods is the best way to do that. And unfortunately, our soil isn't what it once was. We now spray a lot of glyphosate, pesticides, herbicides on our soil. So unfortunately, that does mean that a lot of our fresh produce doesn't have as many of the vitamins and minerals as they once did. But it's still a really important place to start. And then on top of that, after doing the testing and having a better understanding of your body's needs, we can supplement. But some foods that are really important for the liver are cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower, and leafy greens, which you'll hear me talk about all the time, especially because they're really rich in those B vitamins. And B6 is one that is depleted by the pill and can cause acne and some of those really unpleasant symptoms to surface. So trying to get those vitamins through the diet, which are going to reduce a lot of those unpleasant symptoms and help to support our detox pathways, is vital. Next is rebuilding the gut. So you guys hear me talk all the time about leaky gut and how certain foods can really damage that gut lining. And that gut lining is supposed to be semi-permeable, so only certain vitamins and nutrients are meant to get through into our bloodstream so they can nourish our cells. But unfortunately, when that gut lining gets damaged, because of our environment, because of the foods we're eating, because of things like birth control and just inflammation in the body, that gets whittled down, and that means things are getting through that barrier that aren't supposed to get through that barrier, like proteins, and our immune system becomes hyperactive. This can really stress our adrenals. And if our adrenals are stressed, then that might create symptoms like anxiety. It might cause us to produce too much testosterone or too little testosterone. So really important that we rebuild the gut. There's lots of therapies to do that, lots of foods, and bone broth is one of my favorite ways to heal the gut. It has lots of amino acids and glycine to help seal that up and restore the gut health. And eliminating certain foods is one of the primary ways to help support the gut lining. There's a lot of foods that trigger inflammation and cause irritation, and we definitely want to address that so that your gut has a fighting chance. There's other foods that we want to incorporate to help support a healthy gut microbiome, like probiotic-rich foods, and also lots of fiber-rich foods are going to be really important. I want to remind you, I've said it before, but 75% of our immune system is in our gut. So if our gut is compromised, then that means our immune system isn't as strong and healthy as it could be. And also most of our serotonin, I think about 70% of serotonin, is produced in the gut. So this is where that gut-brain connection really comes in. If, the gut is under attack, if there are infections and inflammation, then that's going to send signals to the brain that things are not okay, that there is a threat. And if our gut is also compromised, we're not producing that serotonin, that feel-good hormone, that's getting up to our brain and letting us know everything's all right. So health really does begin in the gut, and that means giving it the nutritious foods it needs to heal and function properly and produce those important things that we need for our immune system and mental health, and eliminate those foods that are really sabotaging that. And then lastly is nourishing our thyroid. So autoimmune Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism is really common now. I mean, it's crazy how common that is. So that means you're not producing enough thyroid hormone. And a big reason for this, for women who are on the pill, is that the pill depletes selenium, and it also depletes iodine and zinc, which are all just absolutely essential for your thyroid to do its job and function properly. So it's really important that we restore these vital nutrients. And for selenium and iodine, that means, seafood consumption, trying different types of fatty fish, and that also has omega-3s, which is going to reduce inflammation and support all those other systems in the body, and just getting more nutrients from our food. And that means eating nutritious food, but it also means supporting our body in the breakdown of those foods. So if you experience acid reflux and you take acid reducing medication, something like Tums, well, that acid is in our stomach for a reason. And one of those reasons is to break down our foods. And that is essential so that we can really absorb all of the vitamins and nutrients from our foods, rather than just having it, go in, not being broken down properly and eliminated, where we're not getting as many of those vitamins and nutrients and benefits in return. So, your gut health is also going to be really important, and your liver and your large intestines health are going to be really important for making sure that we can properly break down the foods that we're eating, and just disseminate all of those important vitamins and nutrients to those different systems in the body so that they can function optimally. And not only are we eating a nutrient poor diet right now, but we're eating on the go. If you're eating in the car, and in the car we're in this big machine driving really fast, and whether you know it or not, your body's a little stressed. If you're trying to multitask and eat at the same time, you're not really slowing down to enjoy that food, to really just chew it up properly, and you're not in a state where your body can properly digest that meal if you're a little, aroused from the stress of driving and things like that. So really, timing and the environment in which you eat in is also really important. And these are things that we just don't think about very often. So that is my spiel about post-birth control syndrome. And this really occurs, again, in women who transition off of the pill about 4 to 6 months after that. And this can be avoided. A lot of these unpleasant symptoms can very much be avoided by supporting your body prior to transitioning off of the pill, reducing that inflammation, getting your blood sugars under control, really restoring those vital nutrients that are depleted, making sure that your stress and your sleep hygiene are healthy, and all of that good stuff is really going to make that transition so much smoother. It's going to make avoiding pregnancy easier if that's what you're worried about when it comes to transitioning off the pill. Once you restore those natural rhythms, it's going to be a lot easier to see that transition, day 14 when you begin ovulating. It's a lot more clear, and that makes it a lot easier to avoid unplanned pregnancy. But if you are trying to conceive, then again, all of these things are also going to support that. So again, you're going to have a better understanding of when you're ovulating, if you get these cycles restored and in check, and then you can, make your efforts to conceive. And hopefully you don't have to experience all of these symptoms and have to wait years to see your period return. So thank you guys so much for listening today. I hope that this video was helpful for you all. And please, please, please reach out with any questions that you have. I am offering a free mini coaching call where we can talk about some of your current barriers and maybe some hesitations that you have about transitioning off of hormonal birth control, and come up with a plan to help you to transition safely and effectively, and just start seeing the results and the health changes that you want. All right, so you can check out that link to my calendar below in the comments, or there's a link in my bio where you can find that. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.